All right. Good afternoon, New Bedford. We want to start off our interview with Mayor Mitchel, our weekly interview, to let people know what's going on with recently Sergeant. That was a procession for New Bedford Police Department, Sergeant Michael Cassidy, who actually passed away from COVID. Now, I'm just going to read off kind of, who he was. People might not know who Sergeant Cassidy was. So in 2018, he was honored for his efforts for a life-saving award presented at a ceremony by the New Bedford Police Department, where he actually helped rescue a cashier who was slumped over at her register at Market Basket in Cogswell Street. He actually revived her until the paramedics came and saved her life. He was a U.S. Marine who served in Desert Storm before he came back to New Bedford and joined the police department in 1994. He's won a lot of awards from the American Red Cross Real Heroes Award. He was recognized by the U.S. Senate and Congress. I mean, there's some pretty amazing accolades, and the man passed away from COVID. And the point I'm putting this up there is you got to get your vaccines, guys. If you don't get your vaccine, if a Marine and a police officer can be taken out by COVID, it's still something to be concerned about. So, Mayor Mitchel, there's still places. Where are the places people can get their vaccines? Because we need to get people to get their shots.
Well, I'll certainly address that in a second, but I just wanted to say something about Mike Cassidy first. First, I appreciate you recognizing him. He was a really accomplished police officer, a real professional, in every respect. I knew him for a number of years. A combat veteran of Desert Storm who happened also to be a Zumba instructor, which is an interesting combination. But he was just a great guy, and he was really committed to the city, to his profession, to his family. And I talked to his wife Debbie earlier today, and she's, I think she's doing about as well as anybody could under the circumstances. But he is. He's going to be missed. He was just a very well-liked guy, and yes, I wish he had taken the vaccine. But we will honor him appropriately next week. There are many ways to get the vaccine. Up until a few weeks ago, there had been an issue with supply. We had really struggled to match up supply with demand. It's inverted. It has become inverted in the last couple of weeks, where now we've got plenty of supply, but not enough takers. So, I think you may have seen the video that I did on Sunday morning. I think you guys ran a similar video, and maybe either later that day, Mike, or the next day at the waterfront vaccination site. And it basically depicted the same thing, which is there wasn't much of a line there. We had that site was doing walk-ins, right? No appointment necessary. You just walk in, you get your shot. And there still weren't that many takers. At the end of the day, I think there were like 30 on that Sunday, just to pick one of the many days it was open. They had 30 appointments, and then ultimately only vaccinated over 8 hours, 200 people, which is well below capacity. They had over 1,000 doses they could have put in people's arms. So, the thing with the vaccines is this, and we see it, you hear about it nationally, but we see it here in New Bedford. The death rate, the mortality rate has dropped month after month in the last 3 months as a result of the vaccine. And it is working. It is setting in, but there's still lots of vulnerable people out there, and the vulnerable people aren't, all over the age of 95. They range in age. Of course, the seriousness of COVID correlates directly with age, for sure. So if you are a senior, you should be getting a shot. But, as in Mike Cassidy's case, as well as others, former Mayor Fred Kalitz, another very public figure. These are people who are not over the age of 65 and who caught it, and for whatever reason, maybe even unknown to them, they succumb to the disease. And so we don't want that to happen, and we don't want there to be any more examples of people, of seemingly healthier people dying. We don't want anybody to die from it, but it all speaks to the need to get the vaccines. And the way to think about it is this way. It's I get it. There is some reluctance. This is all happening so fast. These drugs were approved in relatively lightning speed. I get that. I get the reluctance. You're not crazy to think along those lines, but I would just suggest a couple of things. The FDA and the CDC alike approved these drugs based on data from people who aren't involved in the industry, and in the same way that drugs like Tylenol, which we take when we have a headache without thinking twice about it, are approved. It's the same process, and so. And as you look around, you're seeing people and respect get the vaccine. If you're reluctant, I would just ask you to suggest that you talk to somebody you respect and say, what do you think? And I suspect what you'll hear is, well, I got the shot. It wasn't that big a deal. I just went right in. I had to wait a couple of minutes after I had the shot. So, and it's like a big weight lifted off my shoulders, and I don't have to, be worrying all the time about whether I'm going to catch something from somebody. So, and I think the other thing I'll just say is, especially for younger people, if you're not worried about doing it for yourself, and I get it, it's the risk is lower, but you do know people who are vulnerable, whether it's your grandmother or your grandfather or somebody, else in your life who's older, or somebody who's got a health issue. Do it for them. Do it for people you don't know. But the more that people embrace this, the better off that will be. And I think it would be, if anything is to come from Mike Cassidy's passing and Fred Kalitz's passing, I'd say, if it means more people getting vaccines sooner, then that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I personally know someone who lived with two elderly people. Was a little, going out a little bit too much, came back, got both of them sick, both passed away. So someone, just because you're young doesn't mean you can't, indirectly kill someone that you love, so you got to be, and I would say, you got COVID, you got your shots. I got my shot, my first one. I got to wait a month for the second one. But, I think like last year at this time, we were doing some of our live streams. And if you would have told me we have a vaccine, I would have jumped. I think everyone would have jumped at the chance. And now a year later, we're kind of reluctant, some people, to get it.
I think we're so lucky to have these vaccines. Plagues have happened over the millennia. And the last big one was 1918, of course. And what's different about this one is that there was a vaccine before too long. It is a matter. It's a miracle of modern medicine and modern science that we have this. And I think as history looks back on this event, that's exactly that will be the headline. First plague with a vaccine that took care of it. And the faster that vaccine is taken up, the more lives will be saved.
Yeah. So if you've gotten your vaccine, do your best to get your family, friends to go get it as well. So just you can go to the state's website, and that'll get you to one of the mass vaccine clinics around the state. But you can there's plenty in every set from Fall River to New Bedford. There's plenty of places to go get it. So we'll move on from the vaccine.
Yeah, just by the way, you asked about where we can get it. So the punchline here is in many places. If you can go on the website, you can go on the state's website and get it that way. So you can go to the mass vaccination site. I can make an appointment on the website, and you can do the same thing with the pharmacies in the area that have the vaccine. You can go through your healthcare provider. All the healthcare providers in the region have doses. Look out for pop-up clinics because there will be more of those in the weeks ahead. That's one of the things we're rolling out. So you'll see the South Coast Health Van. You'll see pop-up clinics. They're going to be going to different places. You'll see them around the New Bedford Health Department doing the same thing. You can also call the New Bedford Health Department's vaccine call center. I'll give you the number, 508-984-2661. So there are plenty of ways to get it done. And like I said, it takes a few minutes, and it's easy, and it's no big deal once you're done.
So Patty Patterson says, I have a question. I live in housing. A lot of older residents have told me They would like the vaccine, but have no way to get to the site and are afraid of bus. Can you get a mobile one to come? So how about people that just don't have the transportation to get to these locations?
So what I'd say to Patty is call that number. And so one of two things can happen. Either there'll be some arrangement for transportation, or we can have the mobile program that we've had up and running for a few weeks with our emergency medical service department. So here again, come out right and do a house call. That's what they're doing. And in fact, they do, it's slow going. They only do about a dozen a day per, two-man team, but they're working their way through the city's population of homebound seniors. And we're going to keep doing that for as long as it takes. So call this number, 508-984-2661.
2661?
Yep, 984-2661.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen right now. I have that correct?
You do. That's it.
I'm going to leave that on there so you guys can call that number. I'll leave that for the rest of the interview. All right, so we're going to move on from the vaccine. So
great question, by the way. So so a younger person like that asking about how to take care of the seniors is exactly the right question to ask right now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you also type Massachusetts, state vaccine data, you'll get a Google, bring you right to the state website. So we'll move on to the Cushing Ave fire that happened just last week. 2 dead, a few dozen people, dislocated. The report came out, and what it talked about was 2 things. There's 2 buildings that got on fire. One had a sprinkler system, one didn't. That's something that really is not required by law. But the thing that is, highly recommended is the building where 2 people died. Some of the residents disabled the smoke detectors, and they blocked one of the entry exits from the building. So I just want to use it as a PSA for people out there. You got to check your smoke detectors. Any fire department will tell you got minutes when a fire starts, and that thing can save a lot of lives. If it goes out, that's one thing. You should be checking and replacing every 10 years. But to disable smoke detectors is just, I called the DA. Actually, I'll move on that after. But that's something I think is pretty common sense, right, Mayor?
Absolutely. The city, the city put in place certain regulations concerning hardwired smoke detectors. You might remember this is going back, I think about 20 years or so ago, because of a horrible fire on State Street that left 5 people dead. And so they are there for a reason. And so if you disable them, if they're going off or something, especially if you live in rental housing, just call your landlord. And if the landlord doesn't act on it, call the city's task force or call the fire department. Call the fire department in particular, because they'll both act on it very quickly. But this is, it's in the fire department's area of responsibility. I mean, I wish, the firefighters do a good job. Fire department does a really good job with inspections, but they can't be everywhere, and they're not paid to be babysitters. I mean, it's just a little bit of common sense tells you shouldn't disable fire smoke detectors, and so it's really troubling that happened. But it's a reminder of just how these little things matter an awful lot. And our fire department did a really nice job getting on it. But again, with some fires spread so quickly that even if they're there in an instant, it might be not enough.
Yeah, we're going to do a PSA soon. I'm going to talk to the fire chief. So we'll get that out there. So we're going to wrap up a few more things I want to talk about. And one thing, this is more another thing. I know a lot of people are out there looking for work. You had a chance to see how the progress of Cisco Kitchen and Bar is going on the South End?
It's going like gangbusters. Steve Silverstein's done a fabulous job getting that ready. It's really exciting. People looking for work, but I can tell you, I've talked to a lot of employers, and Steve is one of them. But I also talked to some, manufacturers and construction companies, and lots of them. I talk to businesses all the time, and what they're saying is they're having trouble finding people, Mike. And so the jobs are out there right now. And so I just say to anybody, if you're just looking for work, there is work to be found in New Bedford right now.
Yeah, I'm putting a link in the comments, and I'll pull up a photo of the location. People might not have seen what this. It's a huge facility. They're hiring over 100 people. It's going to be a big spot in the South End. This is what it looks like. The job fair is this Saturday at May 1st from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The email is jobs@ciscokitchenbar.com. I'll put like I said, I have the link in the comments. We helped promote the job fair last weekend. It was pretty good. They have another one this weekend. If you're looking for work, head on down there.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, use the Career Center as well. That's another place that can help you land the kind of job you're looking for.
Yeah, and also one of my favorite spots, Novo Mundo. Carla's looking for a wait staff, so head over there if you want to work for someone good and smell the best chicken in the city. Head down there.
You might just see me come in on a Friday night too. Yeah.
So one thing this is a break-in story, and it's a really good story. We're going to pull up right now. So one thing people might not know is New Bedford High, the graduation rate has gone up much higher. But this thing right now, this just went out, you can see 32 minutes ago, 3 seniors at New Bedford High School have been accepted to Harvard, it's not out of the ordinary for the top 10 seniors or even higher to go to these like Ivy League schools, but it's out of the ordinary to have 3 in 1 year go to Harvard. And I have
it's a sign. So this is the first senior class that has gone all the way through the Honor Academy at New Bedford High, and which is, has intensified instruction and has really beefed up the curriculum for the really accelerated students. And these results, speak for themselves. I mean, three students, Raquel Reese and the B-Bar twins, who are all terrific students and terrific kids and terrific in every sense. They all got into Harvard, and it's a sign of just how competitive New Bedford High School is and college admissions. And every parent should understand that. It's if your kid is ambitious, and this may just be a good fit for your child, whether you live in New Bedford or Acushnet, or even in some of our other surrounding towns. I mean, you can do school choice into New Bedford as well these days, because we've opened that up. But at the same time, everybody, the entire tide is rising at New Bedford High. The graduation rate has come up considerably, and next week we'll have a press conference to talk in more detail about that. But the school has really gotten back onto its feet, and it's through the hard work of a lot of people in the administration and in the school over a long period of time.
All right, we got 1 minute left, so I'll let you close.
Yeah, well, so we talked a lot about vaccines, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if you haven't been vaccinated, the single most important thing you can do for your health right now, more than doing more exercise or dieting or quitting smoking or anything, is to get a vaccine. That is the most important thing for you and for everybody else. The other thing I'll just say is, we have an interesting summer coming up. We'll talk more about this, I'm sure, Mike, in the weeks ahead. There'll be modifications to events. We know about the feast. There may be some other things that are canceled, but we're also looking at ways that we can, allow for safe gatherings as time goes on. But it will be a function. It will be a function, no matter what, of the rate of vaccination here. We can't just assume it's all we're going to have festivals and other things if the vaccination rate remains low here. So we got to pick it up so that we can get back to some sense of normal as soon as possible.
All right. I'll see you next week, Mayor. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you again.
Thanks, Mike.